to what Amber said, what Jinju said about authenticity. My topic was about, I titled it Cultivating Authenticity Through Dance, but I think right now I would probably change it to Nurturing Authenticity Through Dance. So I just feel it's like after we get to the end, I'll describe why, I explain why. So why authenticity? I'm very fascinated with this topic, mainly because that's the reason why I'm here today. That's the reason why my self-inquiry began in the first place, is because I was living a life of like ups and downs. And I felt like I have this so much potential and I had so much happiness, but it was like not channeled in the right way. And I kept attracting situations and men that didn't serve me. And I just kept asking myself, like, why is this happening? Like, what's happening, And then I realized that authenticity is the answer. And what authenticity means is that it basically means that we are open enough to accept other people's opinions and beliefs while living in alignment with ours. So authenticity means not being stuck in who you think you are and who you think and what you think the world is supposed to be, and allowing flow, allowing change, allowing transformation, and also inviting the knowledge of understanding who we are beneath this external life, like on a deeper level. Like, what is our mind? What is our body? What is our spirit and our soul, right? So I feel like one way that we can access this and tap into our authenticity in order to live a truly meaningful and blissful and happy life is through dance. Okay. And my paper looked at three aspects. It looked at emotional intelligence, it looked at the state of flow, and neuroplasticity. So firstly, emotional intelligence. So before I get into emotions, let's talk about who we are. Okay, what is everything? Everything is made of matter, right? And if we look at matter at its tiniest observable level, it's just atoms vibrating at a certain frequency. So everything is just atoms vibrating at a certain frequency. Some are low, some are high, some are dense, more denser than others. That's it. But actually, we are just beings of energy and vibration, right? So HeartMath Institute also says that we learned this in our course as well, right? That the heart radiates an electromagnetic field, but it also radiates radio waves that broadcast our feelings as well. Okay. So that's why when we are in a certain room, for example, and we are in the presence of someone that's really upset, and they don't even have to say that they're upset, but you enter that house, you're like, oh, something doesn't feel right. Or like, when you meet a person and then you're like, oh my God, this person, like, so nice. Like, I just love this. I'm just like falling in love with this person. Like, that's how I met. Like, that's how, when I saw Jinju's video, that's how I felt, I was like, yo, there's something about her that I'm really attracted to, right? So that's being broadcasted through feeling. It's deeper than just spoken word or body language, it's a vibration, it's a frequency. So this also shows if we are vibrational beings, it means that also what we experience on the inside, okay, is what we attract on the outside. So this is where the law of resonance comes in. We go into like, there's a huge, it's like all about quantum theory, and quantum physics explains all of this, but it's so interesting. But what this proves, like, they've proven that through the law of resonance, we know that when one object vibrates at a certain frequency, then the second object starts vibrating the same way. Okay. And there are a lot of different people that have come up with charts. The most famous one is Dr. Hawkins. He has like an emotional chart of frequency. I posted this as well in our Facebook group. And what this shows us is that if we are feeling a certain way, positive, yeah, that's the one. So if we're feeling a certain way, positive or negative, it's a proper scale of things. Like there is shame. Our lowest frequency would be shame and guilt, and our highest frequency would be joy, peace, and enlightenment. Okay, so if we feel that inside, that's exactly what we attract on the outside. So similarly to dance, we can see how, just like dance, right? Dance, what is dance? Dance is just a way of is a way of us to physically express what we're feeling on the inside. That's dance. That's it. If you look at what dance is, that's truly what it is. That's why it's been used in rituals. That's why it's been used in initiation. That's why it's been used in all these indigenous all the indigenous tribes dance, all the classical forms of dance as well. It's all about telling a story, like the hula, like Bharatnatyam, like classical Indian dance. So automatically we can see there is a link here. Okay, so it's very interesting. And what I found through science, okay, so there are two studies. The first study is that there was an intervention program in Sweden, okay, that conducted a trial with 112 girls aged 13 to 18 with stress-related somatic symptoms and emotional distress. So this means that these girls would continuously go to the nurse and complain about stomach ache, headache, migraine, back pain. Like they would always, or they'd feel stressed or anxious, okay, a lot within a week. And then what they did was they split them into a control and into two groups, and they were assigned to take dance classes for twice a week for 8 months. Okay, and they found that all of the girls who took the dance classes, they improved their self-rated health more than those in the control group, and these effects lasted for 4 to 8 months after the intervention had ended. So it's not just that, oh, they felt good at that moment. Oh, okay, yeah, I feel great, and bye. And then now I'm like, I go back down. No, it's like by doing it frequently and repetitively, something changed, something shifted, and they had high adherence and more positive experience. Okay. The second study I looked at was they looked at 40 middle school seniors with mild depression, and after 12 weeks of dance movement therapy, all the subscale scores of psychological distress decreased significantly and increased serotonin and dopamine concentrations. So this is really interesting because when we increase serotonin and dopamine, we stabilize our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, or freeze response. Okay. So therefore, we can see that when we dance, okay, we feel less stress. Okay, automatically we experience less stress. We calm down our fight, flight, and freeze response, our system. And when we feel less stressed, we eliminate self-sabotaging behaviors like procrastination and like substance abuse or even perfectionism, which is something that I have an issue with even till now, but I'm working on it. But it's amazing, and it suggests that by continuously practicing dance, we're able to cultivate more positive frequency emotions. And when we create more positive frequency emotions on that chart, we can go up to the higher level frequency emotions, such as like willingness, reason, neutrality, right? And these are super important in the way we look at life and deal with our situations and how we deal with the obstacles that come into our lives. So first point was, yes, dance aids and benefits or improves our emotional intelligence. Super interesting. So second point was about state of flow. So flow defined by Dr. defined by his last name completely, is a state where people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter, right? And it's complete absorption, it's complete focus, it is a sense of timelessness. And I relate this with embodiment. embodiment is the same thing. Why? Because embodiment, what is embodiment but just connection? That's embodiment. Embodiment is when you are truly able to connect and feel with your whole being, you know, yeah, to be able to connect and feel with your whole being. That is what embodiment is to me. And so I found studies that showed that through dance, we are able to, you know, experience this embodiment and invite a state of flow through the pleasure of movement. Okay, so in Montreal, Canada, a group of researchers studied 40 participants that had no prior dance training. And what they were told to do is they were told to freely move while listening to groovy music. And there was another group that, not another group, the same people also moved. Sorry, the other, so getting too excited. Firstly, they were asked to spontaneously move while listening to music. The second thing they had to do was just sit down and listen to music without moving. And third was to move, but with the absence of music. So what was they did emotional, what they looked at was they looked at emotional ratings and cardiorespiratory measures. Okay, and the dance movements were recorded using motion capture. So what this study revealed was that when the participants spontaneously danced to groovy music, it produced a very heightened state of pleasure, and subjective and physiological arousal in comparison to just listening. Okay, so how? What happened? What they found was that the heart rate variability was very high. There was a high frequency in the heart rate variability, the HRV, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest response. I'll repeat it again. So what they found was that when they moved spontaneously to music, okay, it produced a high sense of arousal, a high feeling of arousal, okay, and pleasure, in comparison to just sitting down and listening. Okay, and also what it showed physiologically was that there was a high frequency in the heart rate variability, which activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest response. So when your rest and digest response is activated, you experience positive emotions, you experience you also have better health. It in turn leads to better health because your body's recuperating, and you're allowing your body to, you know, regenerate and to heal. And also resilience, it also leads to better resilience. So I thought this was really interesting because, you know, the study was not like a Zumba class or like a dance class. It was just like, oh, you know, just listen to music and dance. So I feel like this is really key, because it shows that, you know, when we can move our bodies in an embodied way, like with no judgment and freely, and like feeling free to express, you know, express through our bodies through free movement, then we create like a very loving and caring environment, you know, and it amplifies not just, but also our emotional response, like in general, like to life, to our external life. So super interesting. I think there is one more point here. Oh, another thing is that, so when we feel embodied and when we're in the flow state, we're in a very meditative experience, right? Because we activate our theta state, which is the deepest layer of our minds. So knowing that, it's like even when we look at surfing, for example, right? When we are in the state of flow, it occurs when we're in the process of surrender. When we're able to surrender on that board and just allow and align with nature, then we just get, you know, we're just like carried through the wave, and we just ride. It doesn't, the ups and downs don't feel like ups and downs anymore. It just feels like we're riding the wave, right? So it's the same thing with our bodies and with music and with rhythm, you know. So when we are moving in a certain way, we activate flow state through cultivating gratitude and appreciation. So let me bring this back to embodiment. So when we are moving in an embodied way, one thing that I realized is that firstly, we're very present, right? We're very, very present. And when we're in the present moment, we cultivate gratitude and appreciation for that moment. You know, that's why we're present. That's why we feel this oneness, because we're like, oh my God, like, oh, this feels so good. Or you're like, oh my God, like, you know, and there's like this feeling of appreciation that's felt in your heart. And then this relates to heart coherence, right? And like opening your heart. That's why, like, when we look at ecstatic dance, like if you go to any kind of ecstatic dance class, they always talk about heart opening, heart opening, heart opening. And this is why. It's because we feel embodied. And when we feel embodied, we feel appreciation. And when we feel appreciation, your heart opens up because of heart coherence, right? So interesting. There's so much actually here that I didn't write even in my paper, but I can add on. So through this, we know that, you know, when we change our environment without changing who we are, I mean, when we change our environment externally, okay, it might help us momentarily, or like like it maybe makes us feel better in a very temporary way, but only when we are able to like go inside and change and shift what's happening inside our bodies, then our external experience, you know, is just the happiness and the bliss we experience in our external experience is more permanent. You know, it's just like longer, it gets stretched out. Am I making sense here? Yeah. Okay, cool. So now lastly, neuroplasticity. So very interesting. Why we're talking about how dance affects neuroplasticity and how that relates to authenticity and leading and living our true self and living our true lives. When our world is like, when we look at our world today, it's like very one-sided, right? Like we don't see this integration of, we've spoken about, and you must have heard a lot about the masculine and feminine, and we look at life and how life is built in a very masculine systematic way, right? Like we pay taxes, we pay our rent, we have school, which is like all organized, we have the economy, which is like super organized, and the thing is like, and then it's like the laws of nature. And that's what we read even in Gaia's dance, right? That's what Elizabeth Sahtouris spoke about. It's like how like all the solutions of our problems today are found in nature. And that's our feminine side. So even our brains are structured as left and right brain, right? And we each like tackle certain situations and events using certain areas of the brain. Some part, like depending on the issue or the problem or whatever. So what I found in my studies was that dance can be implemented to invite whole brain synchronization. And when we do that, right, then we can cultivate more wisdom, more mindfulness, and we live like more holistically and therefore have a better experience of life, you know, and live in alignment with who we are. So what I found was that in 2017, there was a study that looked at, I'm just going to read it out here. 2017 research study examined the effects of a specifically designed dance training program requiring constant learning of new choreographies compared to conventional sportive fitness training with mainly repetitive exercises on brain. Okay, so what they looked at was they had two groups. One group constantly learned new choreography, and one group did like fitness training, and they did like the same exercises, whether it's like weightlifting or running or jogging. It was the same exercises. And they looked at brain function, and they looked at brain structure and function in healthy seniors. Okay, so they're elderly people and they're all healthy, like no major health conditions. And what they found was the most outstanding thing that they found was the enlargement of the corpus callosum, right? And the corpus callosum is what connects both parts of our hemispheres and ensures the communication between both the hemispheres. So this is amazing, right? This is crazy because that shows that the more that we dance, right? And the more that we move and the more that we, yeah, the more that we dance. And if we blend it with music and we blend it with um, that feeling of embodiment, so that the feeling of being present. So not just dancing and learning, but dancing with music and dancing with embodiment and really feeling it, then we're able to access both sides of the brains and therefore um, tackle like tackle our problems and achieve our goals more sophisticatedly and with more wisdom and with more understanding, right? Like that's the reason why we're so like that's the reason we're unhappy and we're like up and down now, is because we don't know how to deal and how we don't know how to handle this, right? That's what causes unhappiness, that's what causes disharmony. So when we dance, we connect with these hemispheres, and when we connect with these hemispheres, we get the best of both worlds. um, so it's super interesting. I don't know if I'm over time. I'm probably over time. I'm so sorry. But one more point. So another thing that I found was that so by moving both sides at the same time through cross-lateral movement or movements that cross the midline of the body, then cognitive function is heightened. So this is super interesting because the study shows how that if we move, like literally just even physically move in a certain way, it stimulates both sides of the brain, and it allows us to get more in sync, you know? It allows us to feel more in sync in general, mind, body, and spirit. And when we feel more in sync, then we're being more genuine and authentic with our thoughts, with our feelings, and with our actions. So yeah, overall, we can see that dance actually like has crazy it's so much more than just, good for the brain, good for elderly people. I feel like there are a lot of studies on elderly people. There are also a lot of studies on anxiety and depression, but it's very minimal, small scale participants, and I feel like it can be kind of subjective. But I feel like if someone were to be able to do a study that incorporated all these different levels, like all these different aspects, and combine it together, like then you'd be able to make a point, then like people would wake up and be like, holy crap, like that's insane. And I think there was also another study in the UK where they looked at I think it was middle school kids, and it was like a whole dance project. I think it was in Bristol. It was a whole dance project, and they looked at middle school kids and how having a dance class every week affected their behavior and their emotional health. And they had really positive responses, and because of that, like the mayor of that area was decided to like implement dance in all the schools. Whether that was done or not, I don't know, but that was what was written in the study. So interesting, so interesting. So yeah, I'm complete. Oh, so much.
It's so much. Oh my goodness. It sounds like you're such a great speaker. Congratulations. Excellent job, Resham. First, I just want to say yes. You mentioned in last week, right? One of the practicums, when we were just kind of dropping in with each other about math grades when you were little. Well, I just want to let you know, in case you don't know, you have a gift at explaining science, understanding it and explaining it. You really have a gift. So I really want you to know that.
And I will say, I didn't understand anything you said, but I just want to know if, like, when I'm doing the Roger Rabbit or raising the roof, am I hot or not? Like, that's really what I want to know. Like, does this look cool? Raise the roof? No, I'm just kidding. I read your paper, loved your presentation. Yeah, it's quite amazing that, you talked about wanting to be a heart surgeon. You're well on your way to being a heart surgeon. because all you talk about is what to do with the
Yes.
heart, right? And so
Yes.
clearly,
Preventative
yeah,
medicine, right? That's the field you're in right now. Preventative medicine. That's
Yeah.
the field, neurosomatic flow and dance and all of this. And then there's not as many heart surgeries that have to be done.
Your study that you talked about, Laurel also presented on dance, and she I think she referenced the same paper, because when you talked about playing groovy music, in fact, I asked about that.
You're
It's
like,
like,
how
what
did
is
they define
yeah, what's
groovy?
groovy music? And then I think Laurel said it was just music with a beat, I guess is what she
No,
had
it
said.
was something that music that had someone inspired to move.
Move, that was it.
Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, it was also, they looked at familiarity. So they even they had a graph on like familiarity. Like, so they even tested that, and that's what they meant by groovy. If it was familiar, then that means it's groovy.
We lost.
Speaker.
If it's not familiar, then it's like
Yeah.
not so groovy.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, she's talking about the study. That's what she was.
Sorry, our speaker just.
Our speaker went out, and you had said they looked at the familiarity of the song, as.
Yeah, in order to determine whether it was groovy or not, like whether it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh man. So I love this conversation so much. I'm so passionate. I was just he was while you were sharing all, he was like, this reminds me of Julio Olaya, who is part of this lineage, right? He's he's my guru, your guru. I brought so much, the ontological, all of that in. So he was, when the reason I chose that coach training program was because at the top of the website, when I found it, the very first, I saw the words, if you're not willing to learn how to dance, then this program is not for you. Oh, I think I froze. Again.
No, yeah, you're there. I hear you. Yeah.
And Nova was just saying,
well, he was onto something earlier.
Onto something, and then I also feel like, going back to Charlotte.
Wait, now we can't hear you. Cannot hear you. Video is working, but cannot hear you.
You should hear us now.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. That dance is like it's the only, and your study actually reminded me a lot of the senior citizen study as well, the 471 senior citizens that they followed for 21 years, and those authors shared, because he was asking, because it's so powerful, right? The results of the study that you present about the teenage girls, it was the girls, right? Were they girls?
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And so Noah was just like, he was like, it's so powerful, but like, I want to know why, like what's happening in the brain, and why is that? And basically the authors of the other study, the Stanford study, and what they're saying is that dance is the only physical, it's the only activity, right? Because it's more than physical. It's the only activity. Cannot think of any other activity that influences and affects every single aspect of the human body, all the systems, every sensory system, auditory, visual, somatic. I guess it doesn't have to be visual, but still you're imagining. But then it goes beyond, because it affects the heart coherence, right? And it affects the spirit. It affects the mind, it affects psychology, it affects social interaction, and then the cross-body action. Like there's no other activity that does that. And so there's just a stigma, right? I think that we are that it's being that we are all collectively on this mission, right? This of and I think it was when basically the whole patriarchal system kind of came into play thousands of years ago, and said that dancing, that there's too much pleasure in that, it's not good, it's not, you shouldn't dance, like the witches and all of that. So just bringing back that innocence, right, inside of the dance. Oh, Resham, I can't wait to see you speak all around the world on this topic, and just really bring I'm just imagining you having that impact of mayors and leaders and governors and presidents everywhere, all over, and principals of schools to just you bring that, in the way you bring it to life. You bring it to life so well, and within this decade, within our lifetimes, for sure, we will see more and more children,
Yep.
teenagers, adults, patients in hospitals.
And while we should all dance, we should definitely not do the Macarena. Like, let's not do that one. Let's not do that one. That's not a good one. Everything else is fine. Just don't do that one.
Sorry. Congratulations. I want to give some time for Charlotte, Amber, Kaya, if you all want to add and just share, ask any questions.
Okay, who wants?
You guys can unmute yourself. Okay.
I guess we can, huh? Resham, your energy is so fantastic. I want to be there to nurture you through this. No fear. Have no fear. You can do this. You know, and wow, the amount of detail you had in there was very educational. It really helped in sort of connecting a lot with that heart coherency and resonance. So great job. Appreciated it. Good job.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Mama Charlotte.
go forth.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, well, I was just, I don't know, I'm like really inspired by you, and I felt like you're just very passionate and you were just so excited, and I think you should teach like a lot of classes about all of that, because I think it would take a lot of time to explain it all, but I feel like, I don't know, I already learned a lot, and I feel like you have a lot more to teach. I was wondering if there was any like significant difference in that one study about like when they just danced without the music, but that was my only question.
So when they danced without when they danced without the music, so they did find that wait, I'm getting confused with the sitting down and wait, let me pull up let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. If I'm not mistaken, it was that when they danced without the music, there was I'm not sure actually. I can't remember now. Let me pull it up. But while I have to like pull up the actual study for this, because I did not include this in the paper. So I will put it in the chat, okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
No, you're great though.
Thank you. Love you.
Great question, Kaya. Really excellent question. Yeah. And Resham, if for some reason she doesn't pull it up inside of this, maybe she can put it into the Facebook group as well. Yeah. And you can even just post the paper in there too. And we're gonna share all of these paper. You'll have her paper as well, Kaya.
Anyone?
I was just gonna.
Oh, Amber.
My same curiosity was about what the participants that danced without the music too, because you covered the other two, and I was like, well, there was a third one, but yeah. But listening to you is such a joy. It makes me so happy just to hear your voice. You get so excited. Your energy is stellar. Yes, teach classes, please. You need to.
Teach and speak.
Yeah, Amber.
Yeah, teach and speak.
Okay, wait. So mechanically imitating the groovy dance moves in the absence of music maintained a state of arousal similar to that observed during the dancing, but without its associated enhanced pleasure.
Gotcha. So basically, when I do my Madonna Like a Virgin dance at 11 p.m. every Saturday, and I put on my outfit, it's better to Vogue with the music than without it. Is that what she's saying? Is that what
your
you're saying?
body.
Yeah, it's just
Gotcha.
it still does, but it amplifies with the music. It is amplified even more. Like the arousal is amplified even more.
Let's. Should we move on?
Huh? Yes, we should move on. But okay. I just want to point out one thing, and we don't have to go into a discussion about it. But
But if we could, you would.
I've never seen this before, Resham. The Hawkins. Can you see that? It's kind of reflective.
Really? Oh, it's so interesting. You should. There's some YouTube videos about it as well, about the law of resonance. It's very interesting.
I've never seen it, and I thought, and what I found really interesting, and I'm curious, and I'll do my own exploration too. We don't have to. I don't want to get into it right now because I want to get to Amber and Kaya. But they put flow in the middle. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yes. But I don't know what it means. Like, I haven't looked into that, like what it means. But I think what I interpret it as is if you look at the emotions on the side, those are the emotions that you would experience in flow. Wait, let me pull that up as well.
I guess I'm just realizing there's many different definitions of flow, because here it says it's like flow is neutrality, actually.
Neutrality, acceptance, willingness, courage. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I don't really have. I'm excited to dig a little bit more, and you really, you did an excellent job. You did a lot of research, and that's the whole point here. We're here to like help teach each other, and we're all learning together, and this is a really beautiful process. So thank you for adding so much.